A busy airport hummed with the sounds of rolling suitcases, chattering passengers, and the constant overhead announcements of upcoming flights. Among the sea of travelers, a young black boy named Jaden clutched his first-class ticket tightly in his small hands, excitement lighting up his face. Today was a special day. He was flying alone for the first time to meet his father in New York. His father had sent him a first-class ticket, ensuring he would travel comfortably. Jaden approached the boarding gate, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, his curly hair slightly messy from the rush to the airport. He handed his ticket to the flight attendant, a tall woman with sharp features named Claire. She barely glanced at him before her eyes scanned his ticket. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she eyed him up and down. "This must be a mistake," she muttered. Jaden frowned. "No, ma'am. This is my ticket." Claire let out a small scoff. "Where are your parents?" "I'm traveling alone. My dad booked this ticket for me," he explained. She rolled her eyes and sighed, shaking her head. "Listen, kid, first class isn't for everyone. You need to go back to economy." Jaden's excitement faltered. "But this is my seat." Claire's patience thinned. "Look, I don't have time for this. First-class passengers have already boarded. Either take an economy seat or get off the plane." Passengers waiting behind Jaden began whispering, some watching in concern while others turned away, not wanting to get involved. A businessman in line frowned, but before he could say anything, Claire snapped her fingers at another flight attendant. "Escort this boy off the plane," she ordered. Jaden's heart pounded in his chest. "You can't just take my seat away." Claire crossed her arms. "I can, and I just did." A second flight attendant approached, placing a hand on Jaden's shoulder. "Come on, let's step off for a moment." Tears welled in Jaden's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He was escorted off the plane, humiliated and confused, as passengers stared in silence. The gate agent looked equally confused but didn't intervene. Minutes later, an airport staff member walked up to Jaden. "Are you Jaden Carter?" He nodded, sniffling. "We sincerely apologize for what just happened. Please follow me." Jaden was led to a private lounge where a well-dressed man in a suit was waiting. His father, Jonathan Carter, CEO of Skylux Airlines. The moment Jaden saw him, he ran into his arms. "Dad, they kicked me off the plane. They wouldn't let me sit in my seat." Jonathan's expression darkened. "What?" His voice was dangerously calm. Jaden explained everything, from how the flight attendant treated him to how she forced him off the plane. Jonathan listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with every word. A few minutes later, the airline's regional director arrived, sweating nervously. "Mr. Carter, I don't know how this happened." Jonathan held up a hand. "I want that flight attendant removed from duty immediately." The director nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Jonathan turned to his son. "You're getting back on that plane, in first class where you belong." They walked back to the gate together. Jonathan's presence turned heads as employees straightened their postures, suddenly realizing who they were dealing with. Claire, still inside the plane, had no idea what was coming. When the door to the aircraft opened, Jonathan and Jaden stepped inside. Claire turned, ready to dismiss the intrusion, until her eyes landed on Jonathan Carter. Her face drained of color. "Mr. Carter, you kicked my son off this plane." His voice was calm but carried a deadly weight. Claire stammered, looking at Jaden as if seeing him for the first time. I didn't know." "You didn't care," Jonathan corrected her. "You saw a young black boy in first class and assumed he didn't belong." Claire opened her mouth, then closed it again. Jonathan turned to the head flight attendant. "Find someone else to replace her for this flight. She's done." Claire gasped. "Please, sir, I don't employ people who treat customers unfairly," Jonathan said coldly. Security arrived moments later, escorting Claire off the plane as she begged for a second chance. Jonathan sat beside Jaden in first class, making sure he was comfortable. "No one will ever treat you like that again," he promised. As the plane took off, Jaden finally smiled. He wasn't just a kid anymore. He was the son of a man who could change the rules.